Hello YouTube and hello Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming and this is another Ninth Age battle report. This is round 5 at Buckeye Battles. It's finally happening. I'm finally completing these battle reports series and able to kind of show everybody what happened, why I ended up where I did in the rankings, and just to kind of show you how my list did. Once again, I'm just gonna show my list and just let you guys pause if you really need to look at it or watch it again. I know it's like I feel like I've been playing it for a bit, but every now and then you might forget. My opponent is OG Reach. I played him at Battlecry last year. Now he's bringing a very interesting, I would say unorthodox, but incredibly cool Orcs and Goblins army. So his general is a Cave Goblin King on a Gnasher, which is just different. He's got a Crown of the Cavern King and a Crown of Autocracy, so he's Discipline 9, which is pretty good. Big Discipline Bubble, and then he's got the Alchemist Eyes. So he's still got a 2-up armor save on a Gnasher. He's got the War Cry, really interesting. Then he has a Feralorg Chief, that's his BSB. He's got the Essence of Mithril, so he's got a 2-up armor save, 5-up Aegis, very good. Obsidian Rock for that MR2 and Aether Icon to make it MR3. Nice build. And he's got a Grey Weapon, which is also great. So he got Strength 7 Orc. Then he has a Orc Adept with the Skull Fetish, which is like pretty cool actually. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's basically like if you have enough things in combat, which for this army, like there's so many things to get in combat. You can easily get those 3 Veil tokens and easily have like just that extra dice. So it's really cool, and it's one of those items or artifacts that's gonna like help your end game, your late game. And he's on a Boar Chariot, and you're about to see a theme here because and he's rocking Thaumaturgy, and as you can see, he's got another Orc Shaman. This guy's an apprentice with Pyromancy. He's on a Boar Chariot. Another Orc Shaman apprentice with Shamanism. He's on a Boar Chariot. Another Orc Shaman with Thaumaturgy, also Boar Chariot. And then look at that, he's got another Orc Shaman apprentice, Thaumaturgy on a Boar Chariot. The only thing I can say is thank goodness that apprentices don't have channel, otherwise that would be insane. But yeah, what is that? 5 Shamans in one list, 4 apprentices, 1 adept. And he has 5 characters on chariots running around. Really, really cool. And then for his core, he's got 2 units of 40 forest goblins. They have poison attacks and I think just shields, keeping them kind of cheap for the parry, which is good. And then he's got a big block of orcs, 47 normal common orcs with light armor and paired weapons. That was like, poof, that is just a huge block of orcs. Gosh, it's incredible when you look at those numbers and look at the cost too. Like 40 goblins is only 280 points. Like, woof, like I think my 20 light infantry is like more expensive than that 1 unit, which is crazy when you think about it. Obviously mine shoots, but that's just kind of crazy when you think about a goblin. And then he's got 2 units of 40 Gnasher herds, but that's not it. He's got 2 units of 10 Gnasher herds, so he's got 100 Gnashers in his list, so he's only 100 shy of the 200 you can have in an Orcs and Goblins list. He has 2 things of Grotlings for their excellent chaffing abilities, and 2 Scrap Wagons. So he's got like 7 chariot characters, or 7 chariot-like things moving around. So very delicious Orcs and Goblins list. Very gross. So the deployment for Game 5, Round 5 of Buckeye Battles, was Frontline Clash. And our objective was secure target, which you can see where you have down in the middle. Pretty standard, just 24 inches apart, right there in the middle there. And this is already my deployment. I got to pick... Alright, my opponent picked table sides. He stayed on the side he was. I decided I was just going to drop everything down. I'm like, it's Game 5. I'm like, I'm having a good time this morning. I'm not too worried. I'm like, there's like some things in this that concern me, obviously. But I'm like, I think my knights have a decent advantage here. And I'm just going to try and push them forward and pick off some of the small stuff with my magic and shooting and just see what I can do. So I have my, starting from the right to the left, I got my 3 Knights of Sun Griffin in that field right there. And then I have my 7 riders with repeater guns next to them. And then I just put my steam tank in the middle because I didn't really, I thought it could help me just kind of hold, maybe control some of the board. And I thought that could be a good spot for it. I put my 20 light infantry down next to my wizard master, and they're all basically there because I wanted to put my night block on the hill. And I was, I got my BSB on the one corner right there, so he can just reach the light infantry with his crossbow, or with his orders. And then I have all my characters and my knights right there, my 15 knightly orders. And I have 3 Knights of Sun Griffin behind 5 riders, all the way on the other side of that hill. Yep, and that's kind of a good shot of just showing you what they're looking like. So, wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with those riders. I was almost thinking about just putting them right in the middle, but I thought if he neglected that side, I might be able to push them up. And I was almost kind of thinking, like, not that, I guess with the random movement, getting his general wouldn't be very likely, but I don't know. I thought that could be interesting. The spells I decided to take this game were Fireball through my Magical Heirloom, Unity Divergence, Perception of Strength, Altered Sight, Ice and Fire. Touch of the Heart just didn't really seem like it would affect anything. He had so many targets running around, and nothing really big to put it on. Altered Sight really just to maybe buff the crossbows, and then it is actually good against the Gnashers because we're both the same skills. So if I can bump myself up, I can be hitting on 3s. And then Perception of Strength, I have it on the cart obviously, but I wanted it just an addition to itself so that I could possibly either double stack it or really hopefully push it through. And then Unity Divergence for its damage and the Aegis save really was like, I'm probably going to either need that Aegis save or really need to push out the Strength 3 hits in a whole unit. So, my opponent scouted. Did I not even get a picture of his? Okay, whew. I took a picture of his scouts first. So he scouted his Grotlings right there, but this is a good picture of his deployment. So, starting from the right, going to the left, he's got both his pump wagons sandwiched between one of his Shamans. And I really couldn't tell you what all the lores and all the Shamans were. Unfortunately, my opponent didn't have magic cards. That would have been great to have the spell with each wizard. Most of them, they just had the base spell, but I think he had 3 thaumaturgy guys. One was an adept and one was a normal guy. So one of the thaumaturgy adepts took the hereditary spell. The other thaumaturgy apprentice took the first spell in thaumaturgy, and then the adept took, I think, like the breath weapon and smite the unbeliever. So, again, that was a side note about the magic. Continuing on, he's got that big orc block, 47 orcs with paired weapons, and he's got his BSB in there. Then he's got another shaman apprentice or adept behind that big block of 40 Gnashers. He's got another unit of Grotlings kind of right there in front of his one of his units of 40 forest goblins. Another unit of Gnashers, and I believe that one is inside a forest. The trees are just gone. Another adept on a boar chariot, and then 2 more wizards on a boar chariot, and I believe his cave goblin guy. I don't even see his general. Oh, you know what? He's kind of hard to see, but he's behind the blue unit of Gnashers. There's a boar chariot guy, and he's just peeking out above him in that picture. And then he's got another unit of 40 Gnashers. And he's got one thing of 10 Gnashers on this side of the board, and one thing of 10 Gnashers on the side. And that's a good picture where you can see his general, too. Just chilling behind the one guy in a boar chariot. So, this unit of Grotlings Vanguard's up right here. And then, just going right into Empire Sonnstahl turn 1. So, he either Vanguarded this unit up first, or he, or that's kind of where they ended up after they scouted and Vanguarded. And I decided that shooting these guys with my riders was just going to be pointless because it's like you can't cause a panic check. So I just decided, let me just go in there with my Knights of Sun Griffin. They should do enough damage to just pop them, and then I can flee, or we'll see what happens if he's gonna even charge or not. So this is what the board's looking like. I do decide that the other unit of Grotlings I'm just gonna have to shoot and magic off the board. So I do bring my riders over with the brace of pistols. They're all within 6 inches, and they're gonna pepper them. And my crossbows are probably gonna pepper them too, even though it's kind of frustrating to have to shoot crossbows at Grotlings. So turn 1 for Empire Sonnstahl, the magic phase, I get Flux card 2. I save 2 Veil tokens, and then I don't get any magic off, honestly. It doesn't seem like I got anything off. Whatever I tried, I either must have failed, and then my opponent must have dispelled. So going into combat, I blow through this one unit of Grotlings, and then you can see I have whittled down the other unit of Grotlings too. But this is the end of Empire Sonnstahl turn 1. So, turn 2, I believe it's the big unit of Orcs decides to charge. These guys, he was not very far, so I decided to flee, and I get away. They just stumble forward, and then the pump wagons, man, those things just fly forward. I really regretted moving my riders up. I should just kept them back. But I feel like I haven't played against random movement enough almost. I'm so used to my steam tank doing things like that, but I'm not used to my opponent's army doing that. And then you can kind of just see how he's moved everything else forward. He moved up those kind of Grotlings. They're kind of chaffing my chaff right now. And then over here you can see what's kind of going on. This had me a little nervous, actually. Just because there's so much in the middle that I feel like my knights have to fight. This like little unit of Gnashers and the big unit of like 40 goblins just had me kind of irritated in that it's like I can't give my flank up to that big block of 40 guys, because if they get in there, that's kind of risky actually. I don't have a lot of combat res when something's fighting in my flank, so yeah, so I was kind of nerve-wracking. And then this was also in the magic phase. I think that was the thaumaturgy guy with the magical spell, the d6 hits, and it looks like he does 2 wounds to my Knights of Sun Griffin. So pretty quick turn for Orcs and Goblins. So going into Empire Sonnstahl turn 2, my Knights of Sun Griffin do rally. Well done, boys. They rallied right on an 8 like good gentlemen. And they turn around to look at the pump wagon that might be able to get into them next turn. Again, I had to move my riders back. I felt really, it was just like a really bad move, I felt like. But they do move back. And then, yeah, they do move back. And that's pretty much about it for movement. Sorry, I kind of spaced there for a second. I moved my riders and my wizard back a little bit. I'm trying to, whittle them down. But I'm kind of hoping, again, with like a fireball or an ice and fire, I can just get rid of those Grotlings, because they're just in the way, unfortunately. Very good chaff against me. I get a fireball against one of the pump wagons, and I think it does like a wound. I put the blaze into this unit. I think it does like a couple wounds. And then I throw an ice and fire on them, and that takes care of them, so that was quite good. Yeah, I did 1 wound to them, either with the fireball, or I might have shot at them with my riders. Either way, it has 1 wound. And I think my crossbows pick off like 3 or 4 Gnashers, but as you can see, there's still a pretty big angry unit coming at me. Orcs and Goblins turn 2. One of the pump wagons comes in my Knights of Sun Griffin. Not very excited about that. They're actually a kind of annoying unit to go into these guys, because they got that AP 3. And this is pretty much what it's looking like at this point. My opponent gets Flux card 5. And I don't really remember anything happening in the magic phase per se. Shooting is, my opponent's army shooting. So going into combat, he goes in the Knights of Sun Griffin with this pump wagon. My knights only do 2 wounds to it somehow. awful, awful rolling. And he does like I think he just wins by one, and I failed the discipline test this time, and he chases me down, and he gets into the flank of my steam tank, which that doesn't really matter to me. That's not gonna really do much, and he might do like a random wound, but yeah, 3 Knights Sun Griffin killed by a pump wagon. Imagine that. On turn 2, oof, yeah. So this is going into Empire Sonnstahl turn 3, and you're probably wondering why oh why would riders charge into Gnashers? So let's actually just kind of pop back. This is a good place to go. So I was kind of looking at my options, and I'm seeing like, okay, I have these goblins that are really getting close to me. They're right around that corner of that building. Not a very long charge even for infantry. Everything else in the middle is, keeping its distance because I'm on a hill, and I can reroll my charge. So what do I do? So I'm kind of thinking, well, everything is kind of far from that building and not even in very good angles. Why don't I just go charge those forest goblins, and then I'll take care of the stuff and chaff the things in the middle? That sounds like a pretty good idea. Okay. The only problem is those riders were going to be in my way to be able to do that wheel to get into that building, or to get into those forest goblins. So I needed to charge the riders out of my way, and I chose the longest charge was into the Gnashers, and I think I needed like an 11 on the dice, and the riders got it. So the riders go in, and this is another great picture. You can see where all the movement happened. The riders went in. My knights did make it into the forest goblins behind that building, and then my wizard went up on the hill to support them and to sling magic. I was able to put ready aim fire on my light infantry with crossbows, so that's great. They're going to try and just pepper some stuff, do some more damage. And then I did make one more terrible move this turn. I moved my riders back so they can shoot at the pump wagon. That's not the terrible move. I ended up moving up my Knights of Sun Griffin to sort of protect the flank of my knights. You'll see how that goes later on. So yep, these guys are in here. They're going to die. And my knights are in here. And they're going to do a lot of grinding. They're going to beat the crap out of them. They're going to have a Discipline 9. They're most likely going to have a Discipline 9 hold check, unless I really go crazy on the battle focus, but that's unlikely. Yeah, you can see how I moved my Knights of Sun Griffin up to protect my flank. I think I was slightly optimistic that maybe the Gnashers could go in and I could hold against them, or maybe debuff their strength, but it was just all bad ideas. So I get Unity Divergence off on the other big unit of Forest Goblins. I do take out over half. That was awesome. I get Altered Sight off, and I think I ended up working on the Forest Goblins again. These guys over here, they shoot, they do 3 wounds. I can feel them dying. And then in this, again, you can see I kill a bunch, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 ranks, 4 ranks, and 4 mobs. But so I needed to kill 5 more, which again, it looks like I took them. It looks like it killed 19 out of 40, so that's pretty good. I probably could have done a little bit more damage, but I don't know if I would have got any more. Or no, I killed 19. It looks like, which that's pretty good. No, there's 24 left. I killed 16. That seems kind of low then. I think I probably didn't have the best rerolls with hatred and everything, but that's okay. I mean, it would have been optimistic to be able to blow through that unit 1 round of combat. They don't do anything to me, though. That's the thing, is I knew they weren't going to do anything to me, because I just got that 1 up, and they do have that poison, but they don't even have that many attacks, so. Yep, and the riders die. I don't even know if they killed a guy going in. I think they just exploded. Yep, you can see the pump wagon did do a wound, because, pump wagons are OP, and my steam tank did grind it to death, though. So, going into Orcs and Goblins turn 3, this is where I was feeling pretty stupid. Um, he just, he charges his boar chariot in to clip that corner, and, he brings his Gnashers in. So, I'm literally, like, banking on a miracle here that either my opponent rolls just horrendously, or I just roll the best armor saves, but just, it's just a very bad idea. And the pump wagon makes it in, because these things can't roll short. I mean, when they have a maximized roll, it's crazy. They just go so far. But I'm expecting them to die too. And yeah, this is what it's looking like at this point. He's starting to push up those Gnashers. He's just bringing stuff around. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like he's got a lot of board control because he's got so many more units than me now. The only good thing on my side is I do have really powerful units left, like my steam tank, like my big knight block. So we'll see kind of how this continues to go. And this is a good picture, kind of the overview of where the characters are moving. You can see he did turn that one unit of Gnashers to face that back corner in case my knights overrun, which I thought was, so I guess maybe just an interesting choice. Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely strategic value in that. And I think he did get some kind of spell off, but I don't really remember what it was. Or actually, that might have been somebody's stone skin card that we found on the table, and that's why it's on that top of the building like that. Yeah, I can't really remember. I don't really think there was that much magic that affected this combat. I had no idea what those dice are telling me. So just going to go right into this picture. As you can see, there is Knights of Sun Griffin there. Oh yeah, the pump wagon does what it does. The worst part, when I think it did like 2 or 3 wounds with its impact hits, rolled lower than it did against my Knights of Sun Griffin. It allowed my guys to attack. I think I had, I think I had the max amount of attacks. I had like 8 attacks to poke the 1 wound on it, and I couldn't do it. So it goes off the table. There we go. Knights of Sun Griffin die. They just die to a man. Which they, one had 2 wounds on him, so that's not even that crazy. But then those units come in, and this combat just goes really well. I have distracting on my knights because my knights are so close to my wizard on his cart, and the Gnashers, I think, are the only thing that does a wound. I issue a challenge, and I killed his champion, I want to say, in the first round of combat, and his boar chariot accepts it, and my guy with the Sonnstahl just cleaves him, just 4 wounds, just straight up murders him, and we still do a bunch of wounds to the goblins. The goblins auto break, they run to there, and we just reform. And I felt like this game came alive, like so big. I was so hype at this point because I'm like, that is incredible. Because like, not only I don't think I'm getting half points on that unit yet, because it looks like there's 14 goblins. No, because half is 20. It'd be 10. Yeah. So it's not half points on that unit, but even if that unit just doesn't do anything the rest of the game, I think that's a win. And my knights, I lost 1 knight in the process. I thought that was really exciting. And the best part was the middle had nothing looking at my knights. There was just that 1 unit of Gnashers that had moved up to threaten my crossbows, and now they're about to get charged. But oh wait, the BSB decides, well, I decided, like a fool, to put Brace for Impact and Steady Men on my knights. For some reason I thought I should put Steady Men on my knights just in case something goes wrong. I decided not to put on the double on there because I only needed a 6 on Swift Stride. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I rolled a 5. And I also decided that, hey, why don't I bring my Wizard Master into that combat to provide some extra combat res with his impact hits, get rid of some attacks, and definitely make sure the distracting is there. So the Wizard Master makes it in because he's on a hill with a reroll, but my knights fail and go 3 inches. The The frustration at this roll was unbelievable. Because this was not only like the first time today that I failed like an easy charge, this was the second time. If you remember in round 4, I had that juicy fling charging against the Grail Knights, and they too failed. But this was even worse, if that's imaginable, because the only thing that's in the middle looking at this, that would have been looking at this combat, is those 10 forest goblins. So it's like I could have blown through these Gnashers with my knights, overrun with my wizard, or turned around and been able to just at will charge whatever I wanted to charge next. Looking at it now, I'm like, I don't even know why I charged my wizard master into this. That was pretty dumb, actually. I mean, it was really dumb. But the frustration was unreal. Look at this guy all in there by himself. Just like, let's go, let's do this. Whew. So, going to magic phase, I don't really have all that much magic, but I'm able to force through Perception of Strength, only because I have it twice. So at least these guys are only Strength 4, AP 1, which really helps. And it helps a bit. I do a few impact hits, and I actually win the combat by 1, because he only does like 1 wound. He doesn't go anywhere. But yeah, this is what it's looking like. So, oh my goodness. So this, that was Orcs and Goblins. That was Empire Sonnstahl turn 4. So this is, I basically didn't have anything to show for what happened Orcs and Goblins turn 4, but you can see what happened. Everything just turned around, or Orcs and Goblins turn 3. Everything just sort of turned around. And looked toward the middle, because, I mean, at this point, he knew where my knights wanted to go. They had to go rescue my wizard master, and kind of had to bail him out of a pinch. I have to fight for that objective anyway. My steam tank has the big block of orcs pinned up. He actually has given me his flank, even, because he knows I just can't even grind through enough of him to break his steadfast. He's got a BSB, so he's letting the steam tank grind in the orcs. He's got his BSB on the corner, and he's doing at least like 1 wound a turn with his strength 7. Yeah, just really frustrating, because I felt like this game was mine to win, and then now I feel like it's just mine to lose. So, on Empire Sonnstahl turn 5, yes, this would be turn 5. I charge my knights in, and this time my knights make the charge into the Gnashers. Yeah, so we'll get rid of him this turn. We get a Union Divergence up to put a 5 up to not lose too many knights, because they're very precious at this point. I mean, they're always precious, but they're extremely precious. And we get another Perception of Strength off. There you go, and you can kind of see my wizards only took 2 wounds, because he's awesome. He's an incredible guy. And we turn just to kind of face over here, say, hey, we got this objective. You're going to have to push us off it. This was our turn 5. Or is either turn 5 or turn 6, I can't remember. I think this is just turn 5. And, yep, these orcs are right here. He's got his BSB in the corner. Just killing a bunch of orcs with the steam tank, but I can't really get rid of him fast enough. And on his turn 5, he brings in another, like, apprentice. I think this is the Thaumaturgy apprentice. Or no, I think this is the Shamanism apprentice. And, you know, the 40 Gnashers and the 10 Cave Goblins. So, yep, I have to slug this one out now. And he does bring in his Gnashers over here, and just wait to see what these Gnashers do. I don't know, that's probably too much foreshadowing. Again, I just can't remember what my opponent did magic-wise, because he didn't have magic cards, but I don't really remember anything that was ever too consequential, because some of his magic, 2 of his magic was just like magic missiles, which didn't really do all that much. And then the buffs he had never really did all that much either. So we get into this combat. I issue another challenge with my Knight Commander. This time, he hits 3 times. I get the reroll. I missed with the reroll, so I only do 3 wounds. I was a little bummed about that. I don't take any wounds in return. He just didn't roll well enough with his impact hits. And then the Gnashers go, and they kill only 2 knights. Again, it's like I got distracting up. I think I had the 5-up Aegis, and if they just can't hit very well. That's the one thing about Gnashers. If they can't hit all that well, hitting on 5s, it's not too many hits, and then just not too many wounds get past a 1-up armor save and a 5-up Aegis save. So at this point, when I saw I had a rank, I didn't even need to poke a goblin, so I was able to just kill a bunch of Gnashers with everybody else, with my prelate, with all my knights. I think the cave goblins broke, but I think I'm still fighting the Gnashers. And then, of course, between his BSB and the Gnashers, they finish off the steam tank, and that's actually where the game ends. So after we tie up all the points, ends up being a 10-10 tie. Tie on the objective. We both had a scoring unit near the objective. I had my knights near the one on the left, and he had his orcs near the one on the right. And wow, oof, man, this was a fun but very disturbing game. Only because, like, looking back, it's like, wow, there were so many places where I'm like, what was I doing? And then there were so many places where I'm like, how bad did I roll? It's oof. I mean, the knights filling the charge on turn 4 was just crushing, because he had nothing looking at the middle. I could have gone in, smoked that big unit of Gnashers, and then just been free to turn around and do whatever I wanted. But instead, I had to then turn around, or go into them turn 5 and soak up a charge on his turn 5. It's just frustrating. And then even looking at my right side of the board, like losing that one unit of Knights of the Sun Griffin to a pump wagon, that was just like a combination of his really good roll and my really terrible roll. And then, of course, it's like my riders with the Peter guns couldn't pick up the slack, and they just end up getting killed too. And sacrificing that unit of Knights of Sun Griffin on the left there, what was I thinking? Like, I should have just let those Gnashers charge me. I don't know why I felt the need to chaff. That was so dumb. Ugh. Anyway, well, that wraps up Buckeye Battles, everybody. I think I finished 28th. I was the 3rd best DOS, which was a little frustrating. Just couldn't really make the Knights work as good as I did at Battlecry. But I learned a lot about them, and I had a good time. Thanks again to everybody for watching these. Thank you to Jeff Parkhurst for, again, running another successful and awesome Buckeye Battles. Everyone, you'll see another battle report soon. Thanks for watching.